Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome in. Anybody watching over on YouTube, appreciate you stopping by. Good morning, Vintage Sports Flips, Ann Lynn, Karmic Designs, Ellis and Man. Appreciate you stopping by. My name is Stuart. I'm with Franklin Hill Ventures here in Knoxville, Tennessee, a very hot Knoxville, Tennessee this week. And this is my regular, just Monday morning show. It's a quick little 30-minute show, and I do have a hard stop today. I've got to go pick up some glasses that I ordered. So I'll have to get off right at 9 o'clock so I can be there by 9:15. But we just get together every Monday, do a little chatting, talk about what we did over the weekend, in this case, the long weekend. And I can answer any questions you might have about whatnot or reselling in general. I may not have the answers, but somebody else might. And I have been doing this a really long time, which means I'm old, I guess. I started on some of the other online marketplaces way back in 1998, and I've been on Whatnot now over a year. It's hard to believe it's been that long, and absolutely love this platform. It's really kind of changed the way that I sell, as far as the ability to sell so many items quickly. Hey, Ailey Hoop, or yeah, Ailey Hoop, I guess, Carrie and friends. Madge USA 98, appreciate you coming in. Thanks for the hearts. Make sure you check out the Buy It Now. I do have some stuff out there as always. We'll do a giveaway at the end of the show. If you're just joining, I've got to get off right at 9 o'clock today. I know we usually go a little long, but have a new pair of prescription sunglasses that I'm going to go pick up so I can see when I'm driving. So, which is a good thing. Uh, did anybody do anything exciting over this long weekend? Um, Ours was kind of bittersweet. We got our youngest daughter. She starts a new job in Vancouver, Washington. I think she starts next week, maybe. But she left yesterday here from Knoxville to make the long drive out to Vancouver. She had a friend fly in who's riding with her, then her friend will fly back. It's a girl that she went to school with at Alabama. So we were glad that she has somebody to ride with. But they're doing it over 4 days, I think. It's like 36, 37 hours to drive from Knoxville to Vancouver. And this is Vancouver, Washington, not Canada. So it's just above Portland. So she's really excited about getting out there. I think they stayed in a hostel last night in Kansas City. It was like on a farm, and she texted and said it was really, really cool. And then I believe they're tent camping the other 3 nights. Could be wrong. They might be staying somewhere like another hostel at some point, but I know they're doing tent camping 2 or 3 of the nights. Hey, welcome in, Midwest Merchant, Lisa Horvath 73, Restario. Appreciate y'all stopping by. I am Stuart with Franklin Hill Ventures. I do this show every Monday morning, and we really just get together and chat, do a giveaway at the end of the show, just kind of as an appreciation for coming. And my giveaway is always something well, not always, but typically some type of ephemera, which is the category that I normally sell in. Um, I mean, I've always collected ephemera, but Whatnot really amped up my interest and love of everything paper. It's just such an interesting category to sell in, and a lot different than the other things that I sell. I tend to only sell ephemera and Whatnot. I used to sell a little more variety, but I've found just with the ease of shipping, when you sell that many things in a short period of time, um, I tend to sell all my glassware, china, any of the other stuff really outside of Whatnot on the other online marketplaces that I sell on. And I sell on 6 additional online marketplaces, besides Whatnot. Then I also have 3 antique booth locations here in Knoxville. So have a lot of different outlets to be able to sell stuff, which is nice. So I can sell a pretty wide variety of things, from furniture to artwork to China, which, I mean, that's kind of my specialty on other online marketplaces. Amy, my wife, calls me the China King of Knoxville. And then sell a lot of flatware. In fact, I've already started my morning out this morning. You can probably see my finger here. I've got what I call my silver polishing callus starting. I've got a ton of flatware that I bought, and like, as a general rule, I always polish flatware just because people, don't want tarnished flatware. Unlike brass, for example, when I get brass, I very rarely ever polish it. People like that patina on the brass. I mean, I might clean it up a little bit, but for the most part, I sell brass as is. But anything silver plate, I'll tend to polish, especially flatware. Like serving pieces, I may or may not, just depending on what it looks like. Um, so I don't know if anybody else does anything in those areas, like china, flatware, any of that type of stuff. I mean, it's a pretty good market for me. Um, you know, it doesn't sell for just a ton, but you get it really inexpensively as well. So it kind of balances out. Hey, Redhead Girl 54, welcome in. Appreciate you stopping by. As mentioned, I do have a hard stop at 9 a.m. this morning, so we'll go right up until about 8:55. I'll start the giveaway, then we'll end, and we'll raid somebody like we always do. But appreciate everybody coming in. If you have any questions at all about, really anything related to reselling, if I don't have the answer, somebody else in the chat might. Trying to think if I did anything else this weekend. I did have a pretty successful sourcing Friday. There wasn't anything on Saturday in Knoxville here. If Tennessee has a home game, well, excuse me, not a home game, but if they're playing on TV and it's an early game, then really that drives all the yard sales up because I mean, they had a noon game, played and beat the fool out of Virginia, but it really made Saturday terrible for as far as yard sales went. But I found a really cool estate sale on Friday. It was basically, it wasn't an estate sale company per se. It was a husband and wife who were realtors, and anytime I guess, they work with clients they're selling houses for, and they'll kind of do estate sales on their own. Um, so they had really reasonably priced stuff. Like all their books were $1, and I got so many books. I probably bought 60 or 70 books, and I've already sold actually 3 or 4 of them on some other online marketplaces. But a lot of them went back to the 1800s and then on up into the 1960s. And I have really good success with books in general. Not sure if anybody else deals in books, but you can ship a media mail for the most part, and so shipping's inexpensive. So typically, I'll do free shipping on those sorts of things. My general rule of thumb is, um, outside of Whatnot, because shipping's just all built in, but on other online marketplaces, if it's first class or media mail, I'll do free shipping and work the cost into the price because you kind of know what it's going to be. It's not as big a drastic change between shipping for me in Knoxville, shipping from east of the Mississippi to west of the Mississippi, where stuff over a pound, although it's gotten better now with the new Ground Advantage, but in general, if I were to try to work shipping cost into heavier items, then you end up like East Coast people subsidizing the cost of things that I ship to the West Coast. So I pretty much do calculated shipping on anything over a pound, and then free shipping on anything that's either media mail or first class. And that model's worked pretty well for me. I know I can add like $4 typically for first class items. Well, really $4 for either media mail or first class. And media mail generally range anywhere from 350 up to over 6 if it's really heavy, but it kind of balances out if you add that $4. And first class is kind of the same way. I mean, it might cost me $6 to ship it from here to California, but it's not a huge drastic difference from shipping it on this side of the Mississippi. So, hey, welcome in a JL Stoller, Bones 40, in it to win it, Joshua. Appreciate you stopping by, J. Rombo. Anybody else I missed? Making sure I didn't have anybody jumping in on the YouTube feed there. So did anybody else do anything exciting over the weekend? As mentioned, we were really just getting my daughter ready to leave for her big trip, or not really a trip, to start a new job, which she'll be over in Vancouver, Washington for 10 months is how long her contract is. It's with AmeriCorps. I'm not sure if you've heard of that. It's through the government, and it's kind of like Peace Corps, but in the U.S. versus going to a foreign country. So she'll be in Vancouver for 10 months working for the city of Vancouver. I'm really not sure exactly what she'll be doing, but she also did AmeriCorps while she was at the University of Alabama doing river cleanups in Birmingham and Tuscaloosa. She like coordinated all the volunteer opportunities they needed for those river cleanups. So, um, but yeah, other than that, trying to get her car packed and watch football pretty much most of the day Saturday, to be honest. But I did list a lot as well. I was really excited. I've had this goal of getting to 1,000 listings on my other online marketplaces for a while now. And it's hard because you're constantly stair stepping as you sell stuff. So you got to list enough to cover what you sold, plus more to keep jumping up. Hey, Bees Wonderland Shop, welcome in. This is just my Monday morning chat show. We get together, just kind of talk about whatnot and reselling in general, and then just really what's been going on in life and get ready for the week, motivate each other. So anyway, I was almost at 1,000. I think I was at 999, and then I just sold two things right before I jumped on this call or on this whatnot show. So I think I'm back down to like 996. So um, as I mentioned, I've been polishing flatware this morning, so I've got quite a bit of it to list. So I think I'll get over 1,000 today for the first time ever. I've never um, gotten that many listings. And just a couple of months ago, I think I was at 800. So I've really been making a concerted effort to get a ton of stuff listed and build up my other online marketplaces. And that's one of the reasons, like, I love Whatnot, and I don't know if anybody else has had this experience, but Whatnot can be so all consuming. Hey, Princess 52, Julie Kess 67, thanks for stopping by. But for me, Whatnot had gotten to the point where I was doing at least a show a week, if not more. And while I enjoyed that, I was really doing it at the expense of everything else I did, whether it was my other online marketplaces, my antique booths, which, I mean, it was probably necessary to build up my Whatnot um, channel. But I made a decision, a couple of months ago now, I think. Maybe it was last month. But anyway, made the decision to cut back on Whatnot to go to more or less every other week. So I do a Friday show. Amy and I do Whatnot together, and we do a Friday show roughly every other week at around 8 o'clock p.m. or so Eastern time. And then we may add a couple of extra shows, like if we're part of special events, like this weekend we're in Ephemerama, or if it falls on the same weekend, that may take the place of our Friday show. But I mean, that seems to have worked pretty well. That way I can focus only on Whatnot in the week I have a show, work on getting stuff in the store. But then on the week I don't have a Whatnot show, I try not to think about it at all. Other than I do go onto other people's shows and buy stuff, and it's kind of my background music when I'm listing. But for the most part, I've tried to at least take a step back from Whatnot from the standpoint of not letting it like completely consume everything I do related to reselling. So that seems to have worked pretty well. It hasn't, I don't think it's hurt the traffic in my Whatnot shows. I still seem to have as many people and sell as much. But it allows me to keep focus on the other things I do as well, because I don't know about everybody else. Like, I run pretty good margins on Whatnot, but my margin target's lower on Whatnot than it is on other platforms, and that's just because of the volume I can do on Whatnot. Um, so I was focusing everything on Whatnot for a little bit lower margins than I can get other places. So it's been kind of nice to try to find that balance again, and put focus more on some other things that I'm doing. Um, did have I mean, I had a really good month at my antique boost this last month for an August. I mean, August, I don't know about anybody else who resells on here, but August is typically like my slowest month of the year back to school. It's just, especially when it's been so hot, like it has been here in Tennessee, and I know everywhere else as well. Um, August tends to be slow, but this month's been pretty good. I think it was my second best August ever since I've been like keeping good records. And a lot of that was due to my antique booth traffic. So, hey, Beast Wonderland Shop, thanks for the comment. And yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what I found with Whatnot. So I've been on it just over a year. And for me, I mean, like when I first got on Whatnot, I was spending way too much money. You know, it's real easy to get caught up in the bidding, and especially when you're, winning stuff 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, $8 at a time for these little 15, 20-second auctions. You don't feel like you're spending that much, but then all of a sudden, you look at your credit card statement, and you've bought 12 things at, $6 a piece, and you spent $75 before you know it. But um, so, I mean, I have tried to be more careful about, buying when I have it on in the background, but I do definitely still buy from people. And I know, like, one of my favorite things to do, I mean, I love supporting other sellers. And, rather than just tip sellers, which I mean, I have tipped before, but I typically do a lot of random gifting to the chat. I mean, and the reason I do that is it supports the seller with a sale, but then it also gives somebody else in the show something, like a gift. So that's tends to be the way that I support other people and Whatnot, is with the random gifting. So, and most, and that's a good reason, just kind of a tip. It's a good reason to keep stuff in your buy it now, because you may not only sell it to, people who are looking to get it, they may randomly gift it to somebody else. So, hey, welcome in Irish Jojo, Eva Joe, two Joes in a row, Debbie Ree, anybody else that I've missed, Marion Claude, just for anybody coming in. I am Stuart with Franklin Hill Ventures here in Knoxville, Tennessee, a very hot Knoxville, Tennessee today. It actually cooled off a little bit last week, but it's straight back up in the 90s this week with like crazy 90% humidity. So very toasty here. Um, yeah, I mean, and it brings back some, like one of the things I missed after, like post COVID, is my wife and I, we used to go to three in-person auctions every week. We would go on Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night. And so pre-COVID, like my number one sourcing avenue was in-person auctions. Then when COVID hit, I don't know about other cities, but here in Knoxville, for the most part, all the in-person auctions went away and they all went online. And, at first they were like, yeah, we'll go back to in-person once COVID's done. But what they found is they had lower overhead. They did not have to hire an auctioneer. They didn't have to hire runners. They have a bigger audience, rather than 100 people in the room, they have the internet. So really none of them went back to in person. So that made finding value in auctions so much harder. And I also miss like the social aspects of going to the in-person auctions. So Whatnot's brought a little of that back, to be able to go into a room and, see somebody live and chat with them. When you're a full-time reseller like me, stuck in my basement most of the day, it's a nice social outlet just to have a voice in the background. My other social outlets, it's pretty much all around reselling. I go to the thrift shops most days, or go to one thrift shop, and I did know everybody there, but they've had so much turnover here recently. And the one that I really liked here in Knoxville, they got rid of all the people that I knew, or well, they didn't get rid of them. Most of them quit. Um, and then their prices of whoever they have pricing now, is crazy. I mean, they went from being reasonable to being the most expensive thrift shop in town, or not most expensive, but pretty close. So I still go, but it's like kind of like the auctions. It's harder to find value now. So, most of my sourcing now actually comes just via relationships. I talk about this all the time, but if you're a reseller, especially in today's climate, I mean, relationships are so key, which is pretty much anything in life, I guess. But with reselling, um, having those relationships, I'm always handing out my business card when I go to yard sales for thrift shops. I meet a lot of people coming into where I have my antique booths. I work at one of them a couple of Saturdays a month. But what that leads to is I get at least usually a call or two a week, is the average. I may go some weeks not get a call, other weeks I may get 4 or 5. But I'll get calls from people who, their grandmother died, they're selling their house, they have whatever. But it leads to almost like what I would call a private picking opportunity where, I'll get to go in and like have a private estate sale almost. And, I always try to be fair with people. I'm very upfront when I buy stuff that I'll typically pay around 40% average of what I think I can sell it for. That may vary based on how quickly I can sell it, what's the actual dollar amount, those types of things. But in general, 40% would be the average of what I'll give people when I'm buying to resell. And, I'll even help the people, I always tell them, hey, even if you don't sell it to me, I can help you find what the value is and give you some other alternate outlets to get rid of it. But in most cases, they'll end up calling me back because the work involved is, if you're a reseller, whether it's listing it on other online marketplaces, putting it on Facebook Marketplace, whatever, wherever you decide to sell it, it's a lot of work. And especially if you don't already have a presence, it's harder to drive traffic to your store. So in general, most people are good with that amount, and I explained to them that covers, what I want to make as my margin after I take out shipping supplies and fees and those types of things. So, um, but I guess the whole point of that is that, relationships have just been, at least for me, have been really key in growing my business. And I've been full time reselling now since September of 2021. So really, yeah, September this month. So 2 years this month is how long I've been full time. Now I'm fortunate to since I left the corporate world and I worked at a hospital. I have been fortunate within the last year to pick up some consulting work that's in the same vein as what I was doing for the hospitals that I worked for in the past. And I'm kind of in a very niche uh, excuse me, I was in a kind of a niche position working with, is it niche or niche? I guess you can say either one. I usually say niche, but for some reason I said niche right there. Um, but it has to do with hospital medical equipment maintenance and the software that they use to track all that. And I have a programming background, so um, it's the software that I've got really good with at my last job. There's not a lot of people who know it, and it's one of the faster growing software platforms around hospitals. So that's led to some nice consulting opportunities to bring in some extra revenue. I tell people that before I had my full time job doing what I did, and reselling was like my hobby income, and now I've just kind of flipped that. Now I do the reselling, hopefully for the majority of my income, but I do the other, more as a hobby and to keep that part of my brain working related to the computer programming and the other stuff that I do. So I enjoy having that kind of balance that I've been able to put in place. Hey, welcome in all the blingy things. Summer Lewis 86, Solverson, B. Brian, anybody else I missed, anybody watching on YouTube. If you are on YouTube, make sure you click the whatnot link or scan the QR code and come over here and join us. I'm really not watching the chat on YouTube. It's kind of hard to watch both platforms. But I do multicast all this to YouTube every time, and kind of helps drive traffic to both places. Hey, welcome in Stormy Star. We'll do a giveaway here in just a couple of minutes. Today I'm giving away this 1967 Coca-Cola booklet. And this is representative of the type of stuff I sell in my shows. But this is pretty cool. It's got, a lot of vintage decorations, images of that, and like all the things incorporate Coke bottles or some kind of Coke imagery into what they have. So we'll start the giveaway on that in just a minute. Hey, Paul, thanks for coming in. Toys and Stuff Collect. Make sure you go over to their YouTube channel. And are you doing Whatnot much anymore, Paul? I wasn't sure. Actually haven't caught your YouTube shows in a while. I need to get back over there if you're still doing that as well. Hope you survived the hurricane and everything down there in Florida. So, yeah, and it's funny. I've actually been putting more of a focus on YouTube here lately. I mean, I don't have any visions of it ever being any kind of real revenue generator for me, but, I enjoy it, and I've gotten a lot more comfortable on camera between Whatnot and doing the YouTube. I mean, some of the things for anybody who goes live, here's the things I've been working on. Like if I'm on a show with somebody else, tell you what, let me go in and start this giveaway so we can make sure we quit right at 9. So I'll pin this. All right, so that's ready. If you're interested in getting the little Coke booklet, enter. I think it's pretty cool. I love these things. So where are you going to move, Paul? Anyway, so here's the things. Let me know if these are things that you can identify with. So number one was just getting comfortable on camera. So when I first started on Whatnot, I was so nervous. And I mean, I still get somewhat nervous before every show. I think some amount of nervousness is healthy. But, just getting comfortable on camera and mainly getting comfortable with my voice. I mean, I have the Southern accent, and I've never thought it sounded that good. But then other people tell me, hey, you sound fine. And, you have a soothing voice or whatever. And, I tend to be pretty laid back on camera. So, and that's how I am in life too. But so that was the number one thing. So I don't know anybody else who sells on Whatnot if that was like a hurdle you had to get over, just getting comfortable being on camera. But since I've gotten comfortable, which was calling me, being comfortable on camera, I don't think necessarily automatically means you're good on camera, because then it took me like focusing on these things. So if I'm on a show with somebody else, I'm really bad about talking over people. My wife gets on to me about it all the time. So my first focus was like sitting back and trying to listen and not jumping in over people. And I feel like I've gotten better, but I mean, and I watch shows back that I've done. And when I'm on a show with somebody else, like on YouTube, I can tell when I want to say something because like my head will start moving or whatever. So I've tried to work on that. And then not saying like, which I mean, I hear myself say it now. I know just in this Whatnot show, I've said like a bunch of times. And that's one of my things I'm working on, is trying not to say like. I used to say, a lot. And I think I've more or less broke myself of that habit, but I probably still say it occasionally. But those are two things that I've worked on. So I'm trying to think if there's any other things just from being on camera that I've made a point of trying to get better at. And Paul, the booths are doing really well. If you weren't, I don't know if you heard me say earlier, August was a really good month. September's starting out pretty good at all three of the locations, and then October's really the month. I mean, you start just reselling in general. Q4 starts October, but we also have a huge antique festival. That's another one. Gorgeous Finds. I'm glad you mentioned that. I mean, I have definitely gotten better with that. So, like being on camera, I presented all the time with my job. Now, I have no idea if I was any good or not, because it generally wasn't filmed, and nobody ever told me you did good or you did bad. So I'm sure all the things that I work on now were probably terrible when I used to present, but I didn't really care, I don't guess. So I've always been comfortable getting up in front of people, but getting on camera is completely different, I think, than that. There's an right there. So, I mean, I'm really envious of people who have those radio voices, and you're right, Paul. I mean, and I don't want to change who I am. I always try to be myself, but I still think I still think you can try to hone the way you present yourself, from whether it's not mean or not saying, or not saying like in my case, which are the two or three things that I've really been trying to work on, or just listening, especially when you're in multiple people's shows. And I am part of a podcast now. So yeah, everybody go check out and there's 54 seconds on the giveaway now. And then, as I mentioned, I have to jump off right at 9 o'clock. So we'll find somebody to raid here in just a second. But yeah, check out www.franklinhillventures.com. Please follow me on YouTube. Follow me on all my social media platforms. I do it. There's an again. So now I'm glad you said that, because now I'm really conscious of that. But I do a podcast now with the guy I met who also lives here in Knoxville, the Slim Flipper. I do one every Sunday night. Well, I say we're like 3 episodes in, And then he also wants me to do like a show with him. See, there goes live. I mean, now I'm really hearing all these things I'm saying, but which is good. So 6 seconds left on the giveaway. Hey, what's up, the T Hut? Another ephemera seller. Go check him out. So the winner is going to be K Footy. This will be coming your way. This will ship out today, so you should have that sometime later this week. Appreciate you stopping by. So we'll give it here just about a minute or two. We'll go raid somebody. So I'd appreciate it if everybody could stick around at least until we do the raid. I know that being a seller, I'm always happy when people raid me. So it's very exciting when you get somebody to raid you, especially if you don't have that many people in your show. So tell you what, I think it's about 8:57. So let me go ahead and look over here and see who we can raid real quick. And that will give me a minute or two to take off early to go get my new Ray-Ban sunglasses prescription ones. I'm pretty excited. I haven't had new sunglasses in like 3 or 4 years. So it'll be good to get some new ones that have my updated prescription. Hey, BuzzSuds, you've been making any soap here lately? I need to get some more if you have, because I've used that last stuff I got from you was incredible. Tell you what, I guess I need to refresh my screen because I think that shows from last night. Let's see if there's any. So there's nobody on an ephemera. That's always the first place I look. Or if anybody sees anybody they think we should raid, just pop their name in the chat and we'll do it. We still have 14 people in here, so I appreciate you sticking with me. Man, there are just not many shows. Has anybody noticed? I think in general, the Whatnot, I know Whatnot passed all kind of new rules. I wonder how many people have been leaving the platform because a new ephemera seller's on T-Hop. See, I don't see any ephemera shows. What's the username? And we'll just raid. Okay, well, what's the username? We'll go ahead and raid them. So, Witch and Finds. All right, thanks for that suggestion. We'll go ahead and raid them. So we got 13 people we're going to be sending over there. Thank you so much, everybody, for stopping by. Make sure you check out my YouTube channel, Franklin Hill Ventures. You can search for that. I'd appreciate a subscription or a subscribe or a follow or whatever you call it over there. Check out my Instagram. But if you go to www.franklinhillventures, you can get to all those sites. So let's go raid Witch and Finds. We got 14 people, so hopefully we can brighten her morning. Witchin'. There they are. All right, everybody. Have a good day, and we will see you next. Well, actually, come see my show Saturday night or Saturday at 9:45 a.m. We'll talk to you later. Bye.